significant challenges in the water sector, including rapid urbanization, population growth, climate change, and inadequate infrastructure, adding that the challenges had continued to affect Nigeria's ability to provide reliable water supply, sanitation, services, and productive water use. The minister further urged participants to provide practical recommendations that would strengthen the final document and ensure that its implementation produced measurable improvement in the lives of Nigerians. The Director General of the Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution, Dr. Joseph Ochogu, has urged Nigerian youth to reject hate speech, misinformation, and intolerance as the country prepares for the 2027 general elections. Dr. Ochogu made a call today in Abuja at a two-day training program organized by the IPCR for members of the National Youth Service Corps, CWES participants, interns, and volunteers under the renewed Hope Agenda for Young Peace Builders. The IPCR boss said the program was designed to equip more than 80 young Nigerians with conflict management, leadership, and fact-checking skills to enable them to contribute to peace and national development, and also expose participants to emerging threats associated with misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation, particularly ahead of the 2027 elections. Despite making up 70% of Nigeria's population and driving innovation across the country, millions of young Nigerians remain locked out of the politics. Although the Naughty Young to Run Act aims to break age barriers, financial costs and exploitation continue to hinder youth inclusion in governance. It becomes important to study how the nation's largest demographic group can transition from being tools of electoral violence to agents of positive change. Agidigbo FM News correspondent Zainab Wahab brings the reports.
Youths make up 70% of the Nigerian population, totaling about 151 million, making them the largest demographic group in the country. Nigerian youths form a productive part of the workforce and drive change and innovation through digital literacy. It is unarguable that they are important for the growth of the Nigerian state in all sectors. The youth's inclusion in politics is therefore the fastest and most effective way to bring about this change. To facilitate this change and achieve youth inclusion in politics, former President Muhammadu Buhari signed the Not Too Young to Run Act in May 2018 by reducing the age limit for participation and candidacy. Despite this, there are many challenges Nigerian youth may face when venturing into politics, especially high financial costs. The high cost of nomination forms and other campaign expenses discourage many youths from venturing into active politics. In an interview with Agidigbo FM News, a social affairs analyst, Comrade Isiaka Gbadamosi, decried the expensiveness of political nomination forms, citing it as a major factor limiting youth participation in politics.
But we will challenge the youth, and I will split it into two. One is the fact that most youths do not have the financial capacity to go into politics because our politics in Nigeria is seriously monetized. And most of the youths do not have what you call the financial capacity and the connections that is required in terms of what you do in the political space in Nigeria.
Comrade Isiaka Gbadamosi further urged political stakeholders to encourage youths to participate in active politics by deliberately reducing the price of nomination forms.
And then you have the aspect that has to do with the economy. When you see people who are young people who are roaming the streets, they usually are influenced by pittance, 5,000 naira, 10,000 naira, they sell their votes and all of that. And this, for me, are things that has really affected the youth a great deal in terms of their participation and involvement.
And unfortunately, many Nigerian youth resort to thuggery, wreaking havoc during elections and becoming tools for violence. A political analyst also advised Nigerian youths to channel their energy into productivity and avoid becoming tools of violence in the society.
The youth who are
Something to taxi, that need a child to use it in something last form of therapy, legalizing violence in society. Therefore, you strengths to over the time. You are not damaged into the prevention sector, the damage into what makes such to be the form of therapy.
Generally, deliberate efforts must be made to expand youth representation in parliaments, local governments, and public life. Schools, media, and advocacy groups have a role to play in training, mentoring, and educating youths on their political rights. Zainab Wahab, Agidigbo FM News.
The Irish state government, through the Ministry of Health, has formally inaugurated the Oyo State Technical Working Group on Climate and Health as part of efforts to strengthen the state's capacity to address the growing public health impact of climate change. Speaking at the inauguration held at the ministry's conference room, Secretariat, Ibadan, the Commissioner for Health, Dr. Oluwaserimi Ajetumobi, said climate change was no longer a distant environmental concern, but a major public health challenge with direct implications for the health and well-being of residents. Dr. Ajetumobi also highlighted that changing temperatures, rainfall patterns, and other extreme weather events were already contributing to heat-related illnesses, flooding, drought, vector and waterborne diseases, respiratory conditions, food insecurity, and other health emergencies across the state. The Health Commissioner further urged the members of the TWG to bring their expertise, experience, and institutional support to bear on protecting the people of Oyo State from the health risks associated with the changing climate. Meanwhile, the state government has commenced the training of 880 farmers and agricultural extension officers drawn from the various geopolitical zones of the state on climate smart agriculture as part of efforts to boost food production, enhance resilience to climate change, and reduce post harvest losses. Declaring the training open, the Commissioner for Agriculture and Rural Development, Barrister Olasukami Olaleye, described climate smart agriculture as critical to the future of food production, the economy, and society, particularly in the face of climate change, soil degradation, unpredictable weather patterns, and a growing population. Barrister Olaleye noted that with the global population projected to approach 10 billion by 2050, there was an urgent need to produce more food with fewer resources, stressing that traditional farming methods alone might not be sufficient to meet the increasing demand for food. The Commissioner stressed that the adoption of modern agricultural technologies would help transform farming from largely labor intensive activity into a technology driven sector while creating opportunities for young people and generating new jobs in agricultural technology. Now it is time to link up with our United Kingdom studio for the foreign news.
News from Colombia Studio. The show. United Kingdom. I am Olushola Damola. WhatsApp has agreed to pay to $18 billion in dozens of US states to settle claims. The landmark trial, which is the biggest ever of its kind, saw Meta accused of knowingly and deliberately designing features that get children addicted to the platform, such as Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. According to court papers, the company is denied wrongdoing while agreeing to the settlements. Alongside the payment, Meta has agreed to make major changes to Facebook and Instagram, including daily usage limits and restriction of nighttime usage by children who use the platform. The company will also enhance measures to prevent children from accessing age-restricted content. The settlement will be paid out over 10 years. California will get the largest sum of at least $1.5 billion, while several other states will still collect hundreds of millions of dollars each over the decade. More than 150 people have been killed in Nepal, and hundreds of tourists are missing after a massive flash flood and mudslide. The missing tourists include more than 100 from India, 54 from the US, and 33 from the United Kingdom, according to Nepal Tourist Board. Nepalese authorities initially believed that an earthquake had caused the flash flooding, on the Nepal-Tibet border, but authorities later confirmed it was actually triggered by a landslide. And that ends the news. From Film's Studio at Gidigbo FM, United Kingdom, I am Olushola Damiola.
Welcome back. We shall also be moving to our Maryland studio, United States, for more foreign news.
News from Kure Amzat Studio at Gidigbo FM, United States. I am Oluwatosin Soya. Democratic-led states and voting rights groups are challenging a new U.S. Postal Service (USPS) rule that would add requirements for mail-in voting before the November congressional elections. The challenge follows an executive order signed by President Donald Trump in March targeting mail-in ballots. Attorney generals from 23 states and the District of Columbia, along with Pennsylvania's governor, filed a new lawsuit in federal court in Boston. The state had previously won an injunction blocking the rule, but the Supreme Court lifted it after finding that the original lawsuit had been filed before the United States Postal Service (USPS) finalized the rule. Voting rights groups are also seeking to keep the rule blocked. Judge Indira Taiwani ordered the Trump administration to respond to their request and scheduled a September 3 hearing to consider whether to issue a long-term injunction. The Ebola outbreak in Uganda has officially ended, but the disease remains a serious concern in neighboring Democratic Republic of Congo (DRC), according to the World Health Organization (WHO). Uganda declared itself free of Ebola on July 28 after recording 20 cases and 2 deaths. In the DRC, however, cases and deaths continue to increase despite efforts to contain the outbreak. WHO official Dr. Marie-Roseline Belize said transmission remains active, although progress has been made in contact tracing and testing. The Congolese government reported more than 5,600 cases and 2,700 deaths as of Tuesday. The WHO warned that without immediate funding, progress in controlling the outbreak could stall. While containment efforts have slowed the spread, officials say the outbreak in the DRC remains far from under control. And that is the news from Kuleamzat Studio at Gidigbo FM, United States. I am Oluwatosin Suya.
Welcome back once again, now in the exciting world of sports. The Nigeria Football Federation (NFF) has confirmed the resignation of its president, Ibrahim Musa Gusau, alongside members of its executive committee and the general secretary, Dr. Mohammed Sanusi. The federation confirmed the development in a post on its official X page today, stating that the top officials had also stepped down from their respective positions. Gusau also confirmed his resignation while addressing a press conference in Abuja, where he said he had informed members of the board of his decision and advised those willing to follow suit to resign. The resignation comes amid mounting pressure on the NFF leadership following a series of setbacks involving Nigeria's national teams, including the Super Eagles' failure to qualify for the 2026 FIFA World Cup and the Super Falcons' failure to secure a place at the 2027 Women's World Cup. To wrap up the news this evening, here is a recap of the headlines. Federal government begins nationwide consultation for sector-wide reforms over water crisis. Oyo inaugurates technical group to address climate health impact. Meta agrees to pay to settle social media addiction trial. WHO says Ebola outbreak in Uganda is over. Rise in Congo. NFF confirms resignation of Gusau, Executive Committee, General Secretary. And before we go this evening, here is a quick tip. Successful people do what unsuccessful people are not willing to do. Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. Finally, we have come to the end of the news around the world on our Gidigbo 88.7 FM Ibadan, the most listened to radio station. I am Olamide BADMUS. Thank you for listening. Good evening.
News is information.
and information is power. At Agidigbo 88.7 FM, we bring the news from top to bottom.
The Resolute Independent Electoral Commission also has called for continuous collaboration.
We bring you reports from Oyo State,
Sending has called for investigation.
Southwest Nigeria, and the rest of the world.
That the body may receive any kind of support from the international development.
Trust us to keep you informed every hour, every day.
Okay. It's 8.7 FM. The people's voice. Okay,